Welcome to the podcast Life After Addiction and Indictment. I'm your host, Steve Cloward, and I spent most of the last decade and well over $100,000 on coaches, consultants, masterminds, and events trying to figure out how to reclaim my life again. On this podcast, I'm going to share the tools, the tips, the tricks, and the hacks that allowed me to forgive myself so that I could reclaim my life again. I'll be interviewing experts in mindset, leadership, entrepreneurship, sales, marketing, branding, and so much more. I'm glad you're here. Sit back and relax and enjoy the show.
Let's go! This is Life After Addiction and Indictment.
Hey folks, welcome back to Life After Addiction and Indictment. Today we've got a great guest who's just, I say just a kid because he's a lot younger than me. And he's, grew up in a situation, life wasn't that easy. And, he's overcome a lot and he's now a very successful entrepreneur. And so I want to welcome to the show today, David FishChuk. How you doing, David?
Hey, Steve, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Appreciate you for having me on today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for taking the time to do this. So give us a little bit of backstory about how you grew up and, what your life was like as a kid and, until you, got up into your teen years and kind of, how your life went to that point, and then we'll shift gears from there.
100%. So I am 29 years old now. So some people's book, I'm old. Most people's book, especially the people that I communicate with, I'm a very young buck. So I love hearing it a lot of times, especially being 29 years old. I feel like I could have done a lot more, but I get reminded quite often from a lot of very wealthy people I know, or guys that have just been through it, that 29, I mean, you start getting really, really wise at 35, 40. So right. I got a lot to look forward to.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. So my background is I'm a first generation Ukrainian. I was actually born in the United States. My family, all my cousins and on my mom's side, all came to the United States in the early 90s, I believe 92. And my brother was born in 91 and I was born in 94. So just after we got here, I came into this world. So thankfully, if I wanted to be a president someday, I could. But most of my family can't. So I win.
Cool. So got that US. Born in the USA. All right.
That's right. And I appreciate it so much. I don't have to worry. I didn't have to worry about birth certificates, any of that stuff. My wife, actually, right now, she was born in Ukraine. So when they came, maybe 6-7 years after our family did, she has that old school foreign passport or the green cards and all those immigration papers and stuff like that. That was like the first time I saw it when we got married and we had to get passports. It was the most bizarre thing. I've only seen an American passport, really. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that's a little different.
It is, yeah. So my family was a very interesting story. So my mom has 3 brothers and 2 sisters, so a total of 6 kids, and they all got married. So when they all came to the United States, my mom was actually married and then divorced shortly after I was born, and divorced because of physical and mental abuse. So my brother, a little over 3 years older than I am, actually dealt with all of that. He saw all of it as a kid, so he hated the guy. And when I was born, my mom she just wanted to stay with him enough to get another kid, which was me. And afterwards, she immediately left him and we moved in. I have all these stories from aunts and uncles about all of it, but all I remember is being in these low-income apartments, on food stamps, on welfare, government aid, everything. Was in a small apartment with my mom, my brother, and my grandma and grandpa. And it was a blessing in disguise at the same time, right? Because when my mom, these people, like, you look at the stories of immigration now, it's different. But back then, there was no technology. So when they came, it was the suitcases, all they had was what was in their suitcase, and that's it, right? So they all started from scratch. And my mom was working multiple jobs. She was cleaning dental offices while she was going to school on financial aid. Now, there's benefits to government assistance, and then there's abusers of it, right? So my mom took every bit of advantage. And I watched that as we grew up, right?
Let it enable her, though. She was working too.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of enablers to this day, right? And that was something I always watched growing up, is what you don't really see today. Yeah. Most of my family, you watch them start getting into businesses. Well, none of them are owners of businesses, but they got into companies, a lot of manufacturing companies and all that. And they worked for every dollar, right? So I watched that as I grew up. Now, for me anyways, we just got blessed with the ability to I always say it sucks, but it's also a good thing, right? I grew up and I saw all my friends and my cousins and all that. They would all have like newer clothes, and I would be in the hand-me-down clothes, right? All my
Yeah.
childhood. And then it would be odd because I'd have an aunt of mine who would buy me, say, I don't know if it's even a thing now. She'd buy me like Hollister or Abercrombie because that was the thing a lot of the Slavic people wore, right? That had money. So I'd come to school and they all make fun of me because they'd see me in just basic, Payless and Walmart and all those types of clothes, right? Or Goodwill, which was, big for us back then. And so I'd always have this weird feeling where it'd always be like this baseline of just poverty. And I'd always be made fun of by not only like random people at school, because I'd be the kid who was, getting the free lunches and the slop food while they would be with their buddies. When you start getting up into like middle school, their
Yeah.
parents would give them extra money to buy the dumb things, right? Like the cookies and all of that. And I'd sit there with just like my basic food. And I always had the mindset of just if anyone ever gave me nothing, I couldn't accept anything, And so that's how I was kind of raised. Now, I always looked at my uncles and my other and families that had two parents in the household. And it was always a blessing to me to see that. Now, instead of just complaining about not having a father around, my mom told me something that I repeat all the time whenever somebody asks me, do you ever like think you missed out on not having a father in your life? And I said, yes and no. I say no because he was a bad dude. And then my mom would always tell me, you may not have a father on earth, but you have a father in heaven
That's cool.
who's always there for you. He'll be there for you no matter what. He guides you. He's always watching over you. And so that to me
Gift from your
kept
mom.
me going.
And wow, that's yeah. I've never
Strongest
heard
woman
that.
I know. I'll tell
That's
you what.
powerful, man.
And also, and it was great because I had my grandparents. So my mom was busy. I wasn't being like babysat by strangers, right? These days, kids are always just stuffed into daycare and you don't know who's raising your kids. Well, at least, I may have not had the second parent or anything like that, but when my mom was working, I'd always have my grandparents around to keep track of me. So, and my brother, he was 3 years older. So whenever we got lucky, we got in that bucket of schooling where we are in the same, he would be there. He'd be my bodyguard. He'd
Yeah,
help
that's
me
pretty
out,
cool. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. Just listening to you, I can sense that, you know, whether it came from your mother, which it probably did, seems like it was instilled in you that you're always focused on looking at the positives no matter the situation. And that is such an important key, to deal with life in general, but to also become successful.
100%. Yeah, and it's in the moments when these things were happening, I didn't really consider it, right? We'd go to a camping trip because I didn't ever go on a plane until 2015 when I got married, you
Oh,
know? Yeah, I'd never seen a palm tree until 2015. And so that's crazy. So our vacations were road trips to Eastern Washington where we would go to, a camping trip. And like clockwork, it'd be like we stuffed all of our stuff in an old Honda. We'd go there and all of our cousins would have these big tents and extravagant like add-ons. And we just have the basic tent from Walmart, and we'd go to our cousins' like campsites and we would, share food and all that. And you'd always have that feeling. I always did, like in the back of my head they would consistently look down on us. My brother at the time was severely overweight growing up. And so in my head, in the horrible thoughts was in the back of my head, it was always, why am I born into the family that didn't have a father, that has an overweight brother? And I would always complain about these things and the lack that I had, right?
uh-huh.
But here's the crazy thing. Especially when people are stuck in a situation of their life where they're dealt a bad hand, people just sit there and that's all they think about is their victim mentality.
Yeah.
Well, here's the crazy part. As we grew up, because we all got made fun of, because everyone was looked down on us, we decided instead of being like the statistics where a kid is raised by just a single mom, a lot of the kids end up incarcerated on drugs, you name it. They don't end up having any kind of success in life, right? They never get a degree. They might finish high school.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the interesting thing. The benefit and the curse of government assistance. Okay. So we got the ability to do Running Start, which is a program when you finish 10th grade, so you have 11th and 12th grade left, where you can go to a technical college in the area and get your 2-year degree along with get your diploma. So we had a lot of my older cousins actually go through it, but most of them didn't actually finish it. They ended up dropping out and just going to work a construction job or a manufacturing job. My brother was the first person in our family to graduate and get a degree in computer science. And then I followed his footsteps shortly after. It's all what all my cousins are making fun of us and going to manufacturing jobs and all that. They're stuck at that same level forever. Whereas we did what they couldn't do. And that was, hey, y'all made fun of us. Now look at what we were dealt and look at what we did. And what is your excuse? So the chip on the shoulder is sometimes used for evil, but it could also be used to prove someone wrong in a very positive way, right?
Amen. No question about it. Yeah, that gets those naysayers and those bullies and whoever else to just take notice. Yeah.
Shut up real quick, right?
No doubt about it. So did you go then to that same schooling? Did you get a computer science degree as well?
Same degree. Yeah. And the crazy part is my brother was the rock of my life. And when I was 15 years old, he got me my first job at Burger King.
Nice.
And I was, and then I worked at a Safeway, which is our local grocery store around here.
Have Safeways here in Utah.
Okay, cool. They don't have it in Florida.
We used to, yeah.
Yeah. So I was a cart boy there. Well, here's the cool thing. So I also grew up pretty skinny fat. I grew up in the video game era. Like I'd play outside all the time, but I would also I'd go to a friend's house to play video games. And then I got pretty chubby. I would eat like popcorn and bacon while I was playing Call of Duty. And when I'd see some of my cousins, they started getting pretty, like a couple of them got really fit. They do these home workout programs. One extremely popular one that got my start in everything in life was called P90X.
I'm gonna say, yeah, that has to be the one. Yep.
Yep. I got it to this day. When I pop in the DVD, it's extremely low quality. But during all the shutdown stuff the last few years, I went back to those DVDs before I started my own coaching programs. But I went back to those. That was it for me. So one of my closest friends, which is my cousin, we did the program together, and he failed it in the middle, not because he didn't have the willpower. He failed it because he got a really bad injury on his forearm from his work, so he couldn't do it. And I had two options, right? Most people, when they start like a health journey or whatever, if one of their friends falls off, they're like, I'll get out too. Well, in our little low-income apartment, I was able to, me and my brother saved up some money. We got these Bowflex weights that I still have to this day, the ones that you can adjust. And then we got these little resistance bands we can put up on a door. And I got all my workouts done. I was working at Safeway as a cart boy. I was in college. I didn't have a car, and I was working out. And my mom took me in the morning, and I was close enough to school where I could take the bus or walk, which would take about an hour. But this is almost every day of the week. I made zero excuses. I took control of my health, and I would, no matter what would happen, I would cancel like Saturday events or whatever, just to make sure that I can still get my workout in before I had to go to my job. And that even carried over once I got a car towards the end of that. But I made zero excuses. And that's where my first health journey began. I lost 10 pounds as a little skinny fat teenager at 17 years old.
Wow.
And now it's like, hey, y'all keep making fun of me. Here's my grind. No excuses. Now I'm like one of the few cousins in my family where I go, what now, guys? What now?
Yeah.
But, it's not like I stayed that fit forever, right? I started going to a gym and working out. And then I continued that while I went to college and finished my degree. I also, instead of working at Safeway, I went to work at Starbucks. But no matter what, I was consistently grinding. I was making sure that I was getting an income. I was making sure that I was finishing my college. And I was making sure that I got my workouts in and I ate as healthy as possible. And that, I feel like that type of rhythm that I created when I was a late teen was what set me up to go this far in life.
There's no doubt.
Because without that structure and commitment, what are we, right? We're just flowing through the wind. Anything happens in our lives and we just fall off. But the determination, when you have a goal set in your mind to actually accomplish more, is what will separate you from those around you who don't seem to ever finish what they start, right?
It's so true. Plus, it that continues to instill that that consistent confidence and build the confidence. Because I don't care who you are. If you're just sitting around and doing, like you mentioned, just kind of going where the wind blows you, and you don't have any intention or direction or focus or discipline, then when it comes to starting a business, or becoming an entrepreneur, you're not going to have the tool set and the mindset that you obviously had, and the mindset's everything. Because you run into trouble one time, you're just going to give up, you're going to get frustrated, you're not going to have that tool set that is so valuable, and that's right between the two ears.
Exactly. And especially when you give yourself an out and an easy option, like, oh, if this doesn't work out, say I need to go on a walk every single day after I eat, just because it helps me get my steps in, right? Well, if it rains outside, these are the minute things you do during the day, right? Do you look at that and you just go, well, there's an excuse not to? Yeah. Or I say that there's two voices in your head. You have a weak voice and a strong boss voice. You have one that is always seeking comfort, that is seeking to just relax. Oh, this doesn't pan out, I'm just going to not accomplish. But then the other option is the boss voice, the one that wants the best for you, the one that says, hey, let's go do this. You will feel so much better. And every time it's like the angel and the devil on your shoulder, right?
Yeah.
One's trying to take you off your course, and one's trying to make you stronger and be the advocate for your life to get you wherever you need to go in life to benefit you the most. So I see that the same exact way. When you're in college, I ended up going to school with older people. And because it's so free flowing at that stage, they don't really have set dates. You have to be like a self-starter. You have to get your stuff done no matter what. It's not like high school where you just waft through and then you just pass. Like there, you actually have to put in some work. Granted, this is not a university like this crazy one. I mean, it's just a basic college, right? So it was all academic, very simple, straightforward. But that, I think, because of the options of being in the schooling system that I was in, I didn't go to a high school, so I never finished the last couple of years of my life, like partying and all that. I was just straight work, straight college, working out and being as good as I could. So I think that benefited me greatly to where I am today. In 2016, I quit my tech job forever. And it's different when you don't have somewhere in office to go, where you're at home and now it's all the burdens on you. And what do you do with that spare time? How do you schedule your day out? How do you optimize it to be, no one's looking at you, right? Your income is based on you and you alone. No manager is going to burst into my home and be like, I want to check on your business, unless it's the government, right?
Yeah, things that you did definitely helped you big time in, your journey to where you're at now. So obviously, you didn't have it easy, but you definitely made the best of it. And you learn from the situation. I think that's what's critical when we all face challenges and trials in life. It's, how do we respond to them? And through the things you were exposed to, and, maybe just what was inside of you on top of that, you just had a mindset and a focus that you knew what you wanted and you weren't going to settle, and so that's
exactly
powerful.
Yeah, it is extremely powerful. And you don't really look back on those until I start writing the story of my life. And then I go, well, this is how I got to where I am. And I only really started realizing it, once I started seeing a little bit of success in life, because then you'd have to write out, how social media world is. I started writing out a post of, gratitude and thinking to myself, like, where did I start from and where I am now? And then you start to really pick apart what the highlights are and where you really notice those steps, right? So even going back to not having a father, I actually saw him 3 times in my life. Really? Once when I was, I think, 3 years old, he came over to our house and I got very excited because this is my dad. I never seen the guy before. I heard some stories, but I thought, it's my dad, he probably loves me, right? So he shows up, he's sitting right here on the couch. My mom's sitting right here and I'm walking across. And whilst I'm walking across, he grabs me like from the top down aggressively, it felt like. And I just felt his energy and his aura. It felt evil. So I smacked him and then ran to my mom.
Wow. And
I didn't see him again. Now this is going to get dark, but I didn't see him again until 2018 when my grandpa passed away. And then the third time I saw him was when my brother passed away in 2019. So 3 times, and boy, am I glad that this man was never in my life, because I wouldn't be the man I am today.
No doubt.
I didn't look at him in spite. I didn't look like I was missing out on anything. What I did, like I was telling you before, was that I actually used that as fuel so that, hey, when I get married, when I start a family, I will love them so much. I will do whatever it takes to be there for them.
Yeah.
Now, back then when I was telling myself that, I didn't think I would be an entrepreneur and be able to financially take care of everything. I thought of it more as from my soul and my beliefs in God that I would be there for them. I would never hurt my wife. I would never hurt my children. I would give them the life that I never had. Not even saying a financially related thing,
Right.
just being there, instilling value, not making the life harder for the children. Because I mean, I'm blessed. I didn't get abused by the guy, but my wife, they had also had a separated family, and the parents still to this day, they kind of headbutt, and they're not together. They've, they got their own stuff going on, but that kills a kid because they see the arguments while they're growing up. That's just, they're scarred for life. And my mom shielded me from that. God shielded me from the pain of watching abuse while growing up. So it goes back, you said, like, I'm taking the positivity out, right?
Absolutely. But yeah, it's so crazy as kids, anybody that thinks they're not perceptive or smart or, back they're at a level that we're not at, frankly, because they're still innocent and haven't had all the effects of so many things that I won't get into now that change us and mess us up. And for you to feel that, just that energy is, I can just totally visualize and sense what that was like,
Mm-hmm.
you just feel it. And that's, wow. But that's
Exactly.
It's so
And then shoot, like,
there,
touching on just the values growing up, like I said, my mom was so strong. She didn't have to always be there 24/7. Like, we listened to her a lot. For example, like going into school, I remember the funniest thing growing up where there would be curriculums in school. Like, she never let me into sex ed. It was different then, but like she never let me into it. She's like, nope, when it comes down to it, we'll talk. And then when it came to like, and this is the big thing when I was growing up, it was like evolution and like that was being taught in school. My mom was like, listen, believe whatever, but these teachers are telling you that you're a monkey. You're not a monkey. And I was like, okay, mom, I'm not a monkey. So I went to school and I did enough to pass the test. And then I decided when I was older what I wanted to believe, which was I am not a monkey,
Right.
like, I'm a creation of God. That's what I am. So she always would tell me these things. So she didn't have to always be there, but because she instilled them, right? I'm telling you that story because she was always telling me the right things at the right time. She told me I didn't have a father, and my father was in heaven watching down on me at all times, guiding me. The guy's still alive to this day. Like my physical, like, birthing dad is still here, but he never bothered reaching out. And it's great because imagine this. In 2016, when I quit my job, I moved to a downtown in this high-rise condo and I got an exotic car and all that stuff. He didn't come around asking for money or nothing. Like, imagine the turmoil. Like, you finally get somewhere in life and then the old like dirtbag dad comes into your life and tries to like,
it happens.
it happens. And again, I was shielded from this, right? I've seen him 3 times only. And that is the biggest blessing because I only see, like, I picked out parts from like my uncles and the others around me where I was like, this is what a father is. This is what a man of God is. And so I implemented that and my wife was on board. Like, thankfully, like we grew together. So we actually met in 2014 and we met in around July 2014. I proposed to her in January of 2015. And then by August, we got married in 2015.
Wow.
Quick.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, I was 21.
Wow. So when you left your tech job, I guess, was that in 16 then?
Yeah. So this all leads to that little story. So
what
it was, I tell the
Go ahead.
I tell the funny story about us getting married so quick because today people are shocked. They'll date for like 10 years and then they'll never get married or whatever. But I normally wouldn't have. I had my ex-girlfriend I dated for over a year and our cultures didn't align. Like, she was just a straight like American and they had their own way. Like, when I'd go to their place, they just feel different. Like, the culture wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I grew up with all like Ukrainians. So like and like a lot of Europeans, Middle Eastern people, they all have a certain like culture with like, as far as like respect. And we would always be sitting at a table and then the girls would come and like, take some of the food away and start cleaning. And the guys would like move all the tables around and the roles that generally you would see traditionally. Right.
Yep.
So And I wanted a woman that can speak to my grandma, because my grandma didn't come here and learn English. She knows how to say hello, goodbye, like basic stuff. They came when they were pretty old already, so like they didn't have to do any of that. And so when my wife came into the picture before we started dating, my mom actually met her at a Christmas event. And the only reason why we got married so fast is because her mom and my mom had a mutual best friend. So me and her were just one removed for a long time. And then, of course, she became a teenager, and I got a little bit older. And then my mom was like, "Hey, we need to get you an actual like girl that's wife material." Showed me a picture of her, and it was game over. I'm 6'4" and she's 5'9". She was tall, beautiful. I was like, cool. And the best part is, what I like to tell people who are dating now is give it a minimum 8 months to a year, because after about the 6 month mark, you really start to learn who that person is, right?
So true.
But the nice thing is the lady who was the mutual friend she has a bigger mouth, right? So if she wanted to gossip and say negative things about this girl, she would have.
Are you tired of paying exorbitant monthly fees for your in-home entertainment? Do you wish there was a way to bring quality and affordable entertainment right into your household without a monthly subscription? Well, look no further. Introducing the VC Box Android TV Stream Box. Since 2020, VC Box has been enriching people's lives all over the world, and now it's coming to North America. Say goodbye to scattered subscriptions and countless apps. We've got all your streaming in one place. This is the best fully loaded Android TV box provider in North America. Our user-friendly interface makes navigation a breeze, and with the voice remote featuring Google Assistant, finding your entertainment has never been easier. The VC Box V2 Pro Android box is the epitome of convenience. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your favorite shows and movies with just a few simple voice commands. And the best part, no monthly subscriptions. That's right, you heard it correctly. Say goodbye to those pesky recurring fees and hello to endless entertainment. Join the VC Box revolution and elevate your entertainment experience. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. Visit our website and order your VC Box now. Bring home the VC Box today and bring endless joy and excitement to your household. VC Box, unleash the power of entertainment.
And so at that time when we had all met, I was still working at Starbucks, and I had actually graduated already with my degree. And my cousin had a job. He finished the degree a little bit before me, and he got a job in downtown Seattle at a tech job. And I married my wife. I was dating my wife right when I got, the job, but we started off, she wasn't working and I was a Starbucks barista. So a lot of people to this day, they look at our life and they go, "Oh, she just married you for your money." I was like, you do realize that she married me when I was a barista.
Yeah.
She didn't care. And I tell the story now, the one I'm about to tell, and it really, there's such a benefit to growing with somebody who actually has really, really strong values and a similar belief system. Because when we started dating, we only cared about each other and the fact that, what are we doing this for? We are dating not to just date. We're dating so that we can get married and have a family, because she didn't have a good father and mother that were together. So I told her the same stuff. We told each other our stories. And then I got my job in downtown Seattle. And so I started taking the bus down to downtown. And it was just a basic on the phone support tech job. So I would drive at like 4 a.m. to a bus stop, and then 30 minutes into work, and then back 5 days a week. And the crazy thing is, when I first got the job, and this is when I was dating, me and my girl we were engaged. And it was so cool, because in our head, I was like thinking to ourselves, when we get married, all you have to do is also get a job, and then we can get an apartment and we can just live and do whatever. Now, granted, I wasn't entrepreneurial at this time at all. Right. I just, wanted to move out of my mom's house, because at the time I was still living at home. And so we were starting to look at apartments for like $1,500. And I was debating, is it worth spending another $100 for a slightly bigger apartment? The things that I don't think about anymore, but then it was like the biggest thing, because I was thinking to myself, well, if you don't get a job and you go and do Running Start also, because that's what I did. And so we started thinking about all this like small, like, hey, let's just get out instead of let's sacrifice now. Maybe you finish your degree and then we go move out. And figure that whole thing out. But I was starting to go into Seattle, and I got stopped by a random guy who was in a network marketing company who sells, it's called Amway, and it's basically like a B2B sales thing. And they have products, but they're not really good, right? They're just products to get people to join with you to see a dream. And the guy that met me was in it for a couple of years, and his goal was to make $6,000 a month. That was his big goal on his vision board, was $6,000 a month. And at the time I was like, oh, this is epic. So I started going to these like apartment complexes and going, well, babe, this is $1,800 a month. If I get in on this and I start getting people in also, then I can make maybe $5,000 a month, and then you can still work a job too. And then we can make maybe $6,000, $7,000 a month. We'll be living like kings and queens, right? Well, at the time also, that was a horrible opportunity. But what it did was, the only benefit it was that it unlocked my brain to what was possible.
That industry teaches.
Correct. Yeah. So like they'd give me these DVDs, and I put them on my headphones when I'd go to be on the bus. I'd be sitting there and they'd be telling me, you know, how exciting it is to be able to do whatever you want with your money, be financially free. And I was seeing the dream in the sky, right?
Yeah.
And when I first got on the bus, the first day I got hired in Seattle, I went from making $10 an hour plus tips at Starbucks to $20 an hour in Seattle. So when I got to the first day to the bus stop, and all these like young people and old people with their briefcases and suits, I thought to myself, this is it. Like, I finally made it. So I was excited. You know, now you look at it, it's like sardines in a can, right?
Exactly.
But as soon as I started reading the material and looking and like opening my eyes and exposing myself to all this, what is possible, then I would be on the bus looking at people in the opposite light. Like, this is kind of sad. This guy's like 65, 70 years old, and he's holding his briefcase going to work in Seattle. I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
You know, and one of my closest cousins now, we're really close in the same industry in online marketing. He actually got married in June of 2015, and I got married in August. And at his wedding, I met the guy who changed my life forever. So my wife and his wife were good friends. And this guy, my wife started seeing, you know, I was putting on these little cheap suits and going to these events and whatnot, to like speaking engagements, just to listen and network with people. And so I started thinking about like, what's the bigger picture? And then she shows me this guy and she says, I think you can do this someday. Guy had a yellow Lamborghini Murcielago, lived in a penthouse in downtown, not downtown Seattle. There's a nicer area just east of it, across the lake, called Bellevue. Downtown Bellevue is like the new tech hub. The big Amazon buildings are down there and all that. So he was doing that. And then I was on Instagram looking at all of his pictures, and I was thinking to myself, I want to be this someday. And lo and behold, I go to this wedding of my cousin's, and he pulls up in his yellow Lamborghini. The doors go up. His blonde wife comes out of the car. It's this young guy with the slicked back hair, his glasses on. He had Versace glasses. I saw everything, you know, every detail of that day I remember.
Yeah.
So I approach him and I say, hey, my name is David. You know, my wife knows your wife. Just wanted to say what's up and ask what you do for work, because I'm inspired by you. And then he says he does a little thing called affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
And it unlocked my entire world. There was a website back in the day that I think might exist still. It's called Stack That Money. And it's a forum where a lot of people would go on there and talk about their journey and what they're doing in affiliate marketing. And it was paid. Now it was $50 a month. And I went to my wife that night and I was so inspired. And I told my wife, I said, hey, is it okay if I spend this $50 a month? And she's like, sure, why not? Well, my brother I told you about had the tech job, had a computer science degree. Well, he worked at Costco, where wholesale as like the food court. And then he got promoted to the corporate offices in Issaquah, which is their main office for all of Costco, is actually right outside of Seattle. So he started working there, making $25 an hour, and slowly went up to like 30. He actually told me, he said, hey, this right before I got married, this is like the big split in my life that changed everything. He said, I can get you a job at Costco. And I was like, oh, epic. Go from 20 to 25 while I'm also thinking about Lamborghinis. It's like, no brainer. Let's do it. So I got the job, and then I got married. And so I quit my job, my first tech job in downtown Seattle. And I was, you know, on my honeymoon in Hawaii. And right after that honeymoon, I started my job in Costco. Now, the funny thing, and this is the thing that I always remember forever to this day, when we were in Hawaii. Now, my mom bought the Hawaii trip, and my wife's father bought the all the wedding stuff. So that's just kind of what they do in the Ukrainian culture, and a lot of American culture is the same thing. So we're sitting there at Cheesecake Factory, and then I open up my phone and I look at my Chase app for my bank account. I was like, babe, we actually have to start splitting meals because I can't afford this eating out. And so she would eat the French fries and I would eat the hamburger.
Wow.
And it was embarrassing, but we just did what we had to do. She's like, I understand. So, and the other embarrassing one is we went to a steakhouse. We walked is Wolfgang Steakhouse, I believe, in Waikiki. We get in there, we're dressed all nice, and I get in there, I sit down, and look at the price. I sit down, we grab the menu, we grab the water, the guy looks at us, he walks away. I look at the menu and I go, babe, there's no way we can afford this. $50 a steak, there's no way. She looks at me, and then we get up and walk out, just leave. I couldn't afford that. But the end of the bill would be $150, $200, and that to me was something that always stuck with me. And I was like, never again.
Yep.
I want to be able to go where I want to go and do what I want to do. Smartly, of course. I don't blow my money. I don't go out all the time, but I want to be able to treat myself and my family when I need to and not be so concerned. So that was another thing that just burned in me. Now, do you ever have those stories at all where you just didn't have a penny and you're like, I can't, but I want to,
Yep.
So the trip was amazing. Started that job. At the same time, I started looking up affiliate marketing. And then I started going on these forums and communicating with people. And for the first month, I was kicking butt at Costco. Like the managers loved me. And then I thought to myself and my wife, we can't move out yet. We decided that my mom, right when we got married, she said, listen, we moved out of low-income apartments by then. She made enough money that we got a small townhome right in the city I'm in right now. And it was a 2-bedroom plus like an office that my brother was in and lived in. And when we got married, my mom said, I've sacrificed everything for you to this point. I'm going to continue sacrificing. So I want you and your wife, Yana, to be in my bedroom in the master, and I'll go in your old bedroom until you get enough money and your wife finishes school and you start this new business that you want to start. Because my mom knew, she said, I will always believe in you no matter what. She always saw something special in me. That so powerful. I'm telling you, I give her everything in my world. I'm gonna like,
Amazing.
yeah. So I remember like it was yesterday, the conversations that we had. So we set up our king bed that my brother bought me, and then there was my little desk, and then there was the bathroom and the closet. And so I would go to work, come back, work all night until like 2, 3 a.m. and then roll over in bed every day to learn. And I would make like $50 and I'd lose $200. And I'd make 200, then I'd lose 100. And it was just doing this, while I'm trying to figure out like, what is this? I was running just basic advertisements on my phone to get someone to install a browser or something stupid like that, like a game on their phone, right?
Yeah.
And you get a commission for it. That's what affiliate marketing is in a nutshell. Someone has a product and they give you a cut for doing something, right? Filling out a form or buying a product, and you get a cut of it. So that's, a lot of what I do to this day. But I started seeing that, hey, if I can make one sale, that means I can do it forever. Like it just matters about doing it well, getting the right connections, and then that's how it is. So I actually talked to my wife about it, and it wasn't going to make any sense with Costco because I had to drive over an hour to get there, to and then from. And at the same time, it was a lot of responsibility. Like our job there was the same as my brother's, and it was you would be dealing with all the networking equipment across the entire globe. So if someone in a Costco in Hawaii had a computer system go down, you would be on the phone with them. So like you were very hands-on. So I called my old manager up in Seattle and I said, hey, can I come back? So this is my back step with slingshot forward. Because at least there I can be on a bus and not focus on driving to commute to work.
Right.
And then on top of that, the job was so easy. I'd be on the phone and then I can have my computer up over here and work on my business. And then I'd hang up, and then it just made more sense. And I didn't have to learn all this crazy stuff. So the cool thing was that the manager said, hey, we actually have a senior position for what I was doing, which is pretty entry level. And so instead of making 20 now, they gave me 22 and a half. So right in between my original hourly rate and then that 25 an hour that Costco gave me. So here's the crazy thing. He said, I'll give it to you as long as you're here for 1 year minimum. You have to commit to that. And I said, no brainer. It's gonna take me, I'll take a lot longer to start a business. So yeah, why not? Well, I wrote up my 2-week notice at Costco. The manager, funny enough, after I typed it up, I had it on my desk, he calls me in and he says, listen, David, your brother has been here for years and he's been crushing it. And then you came and you've been doing really good, but you've fallen off the last few weeks. I'm very concerned where your head is. And I told him, I said, well, I'm not going to lie. Like, I appreciate what you have and everything, but I'm actually starting a business and I want to pursue that. So I actually called my old manager. I'm going to go back to work for him until I can get, my feet off, get off the floor with it. And he looked at me and he said, are you really going to give up this career? People come, they say they come to Costco. You go into a Costco, they tell the year people started.
Oh, really? On their badges? Wow.
Yeah. Next time you go into a Costco, they'll say their name and then boom, at the bottom, they'll say 2023. A lot of people you'll see like 2014, 2013. Front desk people who are checking you out because they get paid a lot of money, and most people, like, they get a steady income, they'd never leave ever. Right? Most people. So he laughed at me and he said, don't give this up. You're not going to make this work. No, like, most businesses fail and so will you. And I told him, I said, not me, watch me. And then I grabbed my 2-week notice, slapped it on his desk. I said, I'm out of here. And then I went back to Seattle. And then I started actually making some connections. I met one of my friends who was a little bit younger than me, but he was insanely smart. He's a multimillionaire now, just insane. He's in Vancouver, Canada. His name is Jake. And he's the man who truly changed the entire ball game for me. She showed me what was actually possible. My first guy with the yellow Lamborghini, I became good friends with, but he opened the world up. He was pretty, he held a lot of his secrets to his chest. But this guy opened the entire world to me. He helped me start making $2,000 a day net profit. Just crazy, right? I don't make that every single day. Like, if you're listening right now, like, if I made 2 G's a day every single day for the last 10 years, that would be awesome, right? It's the world of business. It's up and down, but I saw what was possible. Now, I got back to that job in November of 2015. And then by June is when I started making that $1,000 to $2,000 a day. And so I was thinking to myself, listen, I'm still living in my mom's house. I didn't take my first paycheck and blow it. Me and my wife were still there. And at the time, same story. I would work from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. I worked 4 10-hour shifts so that I can get Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off so I can focus on business more. But on those 4-day shifts that I was there, I would get home, I would still work out, and then I would work until like 1 to 2 a.m. until I was done. And I'd be up at 4 a.m. like clockwork. So I'd come into work as a zombie sometimes, but that's what it takes. It takes sacrifice. If you're passionate about your goals and your dreams, you have to sacrifice something.
Yep.
Right? So
many people aren't willing to,
They're not. Like, I tell somebody, listen, you want to get in any, like, I don't mentor people into business because that's a whole different ballgame. I help people become the best version of themselves, get rid of their addictions, their vices, their problems holding them back, so that whatever they choose in life, they are prepared for it. I was built through fire growing up. Most people don't have that. They've never done anything difficult in their lives. So you have to become tough some way, right? And for me, it was like, I have to make this work. Now I went from just wanting to live a basic life in a small little apartment for the rest of my life to I can dream of anything. Every Sunday, we would go to the downtown areas. My friend had the penthouse. We'd look at all the skyscrapers, all the nice Maseratis driving by, the Lamborghinis. And I think to myself, like, this is all possible. I'm a pretty big believer in the law of attraction and manifestation, insofar as when you think about something very, very hard, you tend to just gravitate towards the work that needs to be done to get there. So I don't believe you can make things out of thin air, but I believe that where your mind goes, so will your body. And if it is meant to be, it will be. So I went there, and naturally until you actually go to the places you want to be, you don't know what's possible. I can tell someone I can make $200 a day, which is $6,000 a month, and to them, that's all they would want in life. However, what stops them from making $2,000 a day? Nothing. It's just a zero on a piece of paper, right? But these days, I look at things way differently because I've leveled up in a way. I've seen things. I've been places. I know what's out there. It's just a matter of opportunity, but you have to be prepared to actually get the opportunities, right? So I quit my job, and the funniest thing is in June of 2016, I quit, and I went to the manager's office. I got all the leads, and they were going to get extremely mad at me because they told me 1 year, David, well, if I'm making $2,000 a day and my paycheck is roughly that, I mean, if I just worked from home 24/7, like I could probably make more money, right? I don't have to worry about commuting and lack of sleep and all that. So same thing. I got my 2-week notice. I go in there. I said, listen, guys, I appreciate everything you've done for me. I really do. But I've been running this business and I have been making a lot of money. And so the same thing, they're all like, are you kidding me? We brought you back. Like, you know, when your businesses fail, like the same spiel my last manager said. And they said the same thing. You're probably going to fail this. Don't give this up because you're not going to get hired back here. I gave you a chance and you're just leaving. And I said, watch me. Well, within a month, that entire system I had, the offers and everything for the affiliate marketing business completely tanked. So, you know, I went from making $2,000 a day around mid-July, it just collapsed. So between July and November of 2016, I went on a dry spell. I started learning everything I could because now I'm at home. Now I made a bunch of money. I didn't make more than 6 figures, but I had a lump sum of cash where I didn't have rent because I was at my mom's house. Me and my wife weren't blowing money left and right. We never really went out. We'd go out once a week to get Mexican food and go look at like things that inspired us. That was it. So that was the hardest time of my life. Trying to start a business after what I did failed, but I saw that it was possible.
Right.
And then in November of 2016, the same guy that I told you about who changed my life earlier that year had an online e-commerce store, and he sold it to me for 30 grand. And I had about double that still left. So I had about 65,000 still left over after trying to test all the stuff and lose money and all that. I gave half of that to buy the store, and the other half I revived everything and optimized the ads for it, because the whole system was you run ads on Facebook, you sell trinkets to a online store, and then you ship them from China to the customer directly. Well, drop shipping, very popular now, but that's what it was. So I took it over and immediately I started optimizing it because I was studying this entire time.
Right.
What do you call that? That 4 or 5 months of nothing. I was grinding my face off, learning, so that when the opportunity came, when my friend said, I want to sell this to you and go do something else, I was 100% in my head rehearsed what would happen if I got this opportunity. And there it was. So I immediately started making more money than I made earlier that I mentioned. And so I was like, this is it. This isn't a gray area thing. I'm owning a store. So went downtown. I got an apartment for 3 grand a month. I got an Audi R8. I got my wife an Audi TT, like all this stuff. I started going crazy within reason. But the one crazy thing is, after I got my R8, a bunch of stuff collapsed. And I tell everyone to this day, if you make a penny, don't spend a penny. Make $100,000 and then spend a penny, because the crazy thing that happens is everyone gets, I failed, and then I got one thing, and I thought this time was different. So then I finally moved out. Everyone was like, you made it. I threw parties at my new apartment. You know, it was like I was going crazy, right? And lo and behold, I get my R8, and within a month later, PayPal holds all my payments. And there's this whole ordeal because Christmas rush and everyone was buying products and they weren't arriving. Well, that was one big lesson that I've learned, especially to this day. Whenever you start doing something really, really big in your life, never get ahead of yourself. Take a step back, breathe, focus. Now, to this day, I still do affiliate marketing. I left the drop shipping business, and that kind of fast forwards to now, where now I'm still in the same business. I've just grown, and I've met so many people. I've traveled a lot. And today, for all the lessons I've learned, I went on a huge spell between the age of 21 when I started my business all the way up until about a year and a half ago. I let myself go physically pretty darn bad. I went through a lot of spells where I couldn't focus on business. I would have dry spells for months on end because I wasn't optimized, like just because you have a high in your life. I was basically trying to live off the kill I had in 2017, 2016.
Yep.
I tell the story a lot on my Instagram. I have a lion behind me, right? Call my program the Lion's Tribe, because what does a lion do every single day? He wakes up hungry and he goes on a hunt.
Yeah.
The lions and lionesses, right? You don't see a lion with a refrigerator in the back or a deep freezer with the kill from last week or last month. Every day is a new day, and you have to tackle the gazelle of your life, tackle the elephant of your life every single day. You have to. And I didn't do that back then.
Yeah.
So I was consistently trying to revive and beat a dead horse that wasn't working. And the last 5 years have been an extremely big learning curve, because this is why I'm looking forward to being 35, 40 years old. Because in the last 2 years, I went through my grandpa passing away in 2018. He got really, really sick. He had a lower intestine burst, and naturally he died. And we're all there to see it. It rocked my world. And then I thought I got over that. Well, in 2019, my brother fell hiking. And that was by himself. He was pretty far out. He loved hiking. He actually went from being pretty overweight to doing like carnivore diets and all this, and just getting very fit. He wasn't like skinnier like me, but so that one destroyed me mentally for a minute. My mom was even worse. I mean, to this day, it's, she's stronger now, but that's her firstborn. That's her baby, right?
Jeez.
And that killed me, the first thing I thought to myself was, when I got the call, my mom was like, hey, he's not picking up his phone. We're worried. I was like, it's fine. He's just probably he did overnight backpacking trips. And this time he went by himself. Normally he had a friend from work or something, and they go out together. Right. And so I told him, I was like, you ever seen the movie 172 Hours? Where James Franco tells a story of him going to the Grand Canyon or something like that, and he gets stuck and he has to saw his arm off.
Yeah, it's incredible story.
Yeah. So I told him, I was like, listen, don't go by yourself. We all have a bad feeling about it. And there it was, right?
Jeez.
One slip and that was it. So I had a lot of closure from all of this, though. I was very strong. I had to stay strong. I had to give a eulogy. I had to be the rock for my mom, because that entire side of my family that I never wanted in my life all appeared in one day.
Yeah. Jeez.
And while I was in the front row, my biological dad was in the back, and he comes down, he looks at his son laying there in the casket, and he comes to me eye to eye, takes my hand. We look at each other for about 10 seconds intensely, like everyone's taking pictures of it. People are. And then he walks away. And that was it. Wow. And I thought to myself, I'm glad that was it. I got closure in that moment, He didn't know me. He knew nothing about me.
No kidding.
So
Jeez.
It was just a nod. It was funny because I thought to myself the entire time, all his family, look at me, where me and my brother came, and you guys abandoned us. Yeah. All of you did. Right. And wow. This is why I love my mom so much, and I'll die for her. Most people will die for their parents, but I truly mean it, because while she was suffering and going through all this, we had a crazy grandpa on that side who was mumbling all this weird nonsense and gibberish, and just bizarre guy. And he almost ruined the burial service. And I pulled his entire family aside on that side, and I kicked them out. I don't speak much Ukrainian. I have enough. And I told them that they're all the worst people on the entire planet. And my entire family stared, and they were just with the biggest, utmost respect, because this man went behind the casket and started saying all this weird stuff about a devil going on the mountain with him and pushing him and all this. I'm like, what are we even doing right now? That's my brother. What are you talking about? Wow. And I kicked him out. And all I thought was, I am so glad that God protected me from this. My mom protected me from all of this craziness.
Really?
And so
Wow.
everything I do is for my family. Everything is for my mom. I love her so much with my whole heart. Now, I know the one big thing that you wanted to touch on, and it's the biggest thing of your podcast, and it's addiction. So my addiction was different than most people's addictions, and it destroyed me for since I was 12 years old, and that's pornography. I haven't looked at a single piece of any of that nonsense for well over a year now.
Wow.
And most people,
Awesome.
they will lie about it.
Right.
You talk to any guy, they will say nothing because their wife is there, right? It's the one thing that you can hide externally, but internally it destroys you as a person, right? Growing up, like I kept trying to get help. I'd go to church, an accountability buddy, all that. None of it helped. Like if you want to hide, you're gonna hide
Right.
until you pull the roots out. It
Right.
doesn't matter. You're gonna do it. And
Exactly.
so, what was that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you don't understand the underlying reasons and what's taking place and what's happening in your life, yeah, no matter what the addiction is, you're not going to beat it.
Correct. You want to know when you really have a problem? When I'm still very Christian to this day. I remember when I was 17 years old and I said, somewhere in my like late teens, I said, God, I was crying. It's like, I'm so sick of this. You know what? I will abstain from everything in this world, but just give me this one thing. I just can't stop this. I don't want to go to hell because I'm watching this, but I can't stop. Like, hello. That's clearly an insane addiction you have to rip out because you're praying to the person, you're praying to God, and you're telling him, hey, everything else I'll be good on, but this one thing.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you that one thing is what you actually have to get rid of, right?
Yep.
So now the big question is, how did I do it, and why do I not even care about it at all? That's the one really, really big key to getting people off of alcohol, off of drugs. I have guys on my program who have been sober for over 6 months since starting with me.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't do it by telling them, hey, just throw every bottle out. You know what I tell them? Every morning you wake up, you take the old version of yourself, the weak version, the one that needs the whatever vice it is in your life, and you destroy that person. You bury them deep, you light it on fire, you throw it out. And the only person that remains is the elite person that you want to be one day and step into. So every day you're moving forward and not behind you. There is an image I want to show you real quick, and it is a image I love to show, and I envision this every single day when I am at the gym, I'm doing whatever. So this is, let's see what the focus is. Is that good or no?
Yep, that's good. Got it.
So that is Perseus of Greek mythology holding the head of Medusa.
Yep.
I envision myself holding the old version of me, the weak version, the comfort seeker, the guy who watches porn, who has a wife and a daughter who's 2.5 years old now.
Jeez.
Nothing stopped me, right? Like, it's so easy. You just think to yourself, like, oh, I'm gonna take that quick hit. Oh, I'm gonna take that drug real quick. Oh, one shot leads to 2 shot, leads to a life of pain and suffering.
Absolutely.
Right. So I completely, I have a mentor, his name is Wes Watson, and I had a few other ones, but he really solidified it for me. I started going down this pathway by doing this program called 75 Hard, which is a mental toughness program. Yeah, it's free, and I've done it 3 times now. Are you familiar with it?
Oh yeah, Andy. Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, he was my stepping stone into mental toughness. And in 2021, towards the end of it, if people look at my Instagram, there's a bunch of transformations, and it shows the first version of me that's like pretty out of shape. It's actually the very first pin one. It is me. My daughter is born in 2021. I'm holding her. I got a lot of extra like fat on me. And then there's a picture of me in February of this year in Florida holding her. And I'm just completely just like muscular, like it's my background picture right now.
Yeah. That's
And I love it. The old me is completely dead and gone. I don't care. Like, and it's funny because anytime I have any thoughts or the devil tries to sneak in, I laugh now and I go, that is not what an elite man does. I tell the weak voice in me, the devil, I tell him all the things that I am, not what I'm not. I don't dwell on the garbage. I dwell on who I am and who I want to become. I don't have to be the richest man in the world. I don't have to be the strongest man in the world. I have to set a vision and a goal that is so far up here that every day I have to step into that person to become the best father I can be, to become the best business owner that I can be, to become the best father, husband, and help others around me do the exact same and become free. So with the person who struggles with alcohol, they don't go to a party and go, oh, it's fine. I'll just grab the beer real quick. No big deal.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing with people who are overweight and they trying to diet and they see that one cookie or they see that one snack that they love. Like, envision in your head that one dessert that you really love and you see it, and then you take one and then you take 2,000 calories later, there you are, right?
So true.
So
Wow.
if just forcing yourself to not have something isn't the solution, then what is? It is completely part of what Alcoholics Anonymous says is you need to help others with the exact same addiction that you have. Because when you are actively helping people get better, abstain from their vice, you won't do it.
100%.
And my mentor right now, actually, one of the key things that he says is vices all start from boredom. When you're bored, you're a lot more likely to just sit around, and then the vices come up, and then the addiction comes back, and then you spiral.
Mind is the devil's playground, is what I used to say.
I agree 100%. That is exactly it. So there's a book called Outwitting the Devil. Are you familiar with it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I read it last year, probably towards the end of last year, and it embodies exactly what I'm talking about. The devil does not care what your addiction is. Why is it that I don't care about alcohol or marijuana or coke, whatever? And I don't care about any of that. But mine was the porn, right? Some people, it's the alcohol. They don't care about porn. Like, whatever, I don't care. It's like they can stop, start whenever they want. It's not a problem of theirs. Mine was actually a problem. Well, really, how do you actually resolve all of these things? For me, it was, okay, well, I stopped doing the porn thing, right? But then it's just, the devil goes, it doesn't matter if it's the porn, it is, well, hit snooze on your alarm in the morning. And so there's your split decision, whether or not you choose the weaker or the boss voice version of you, then you step into that person. So when I wake up, do I think snooze or do I just get up? I don't care. Everything to me is a challenge. And I think to myself, it's the freaking devil trying anything. And I found myself when I was really like cutting and getting very, very like shredded and ripped, you get really, really hungry whenever you're on a hardcore diet. And I would like grab like I'd walk into the kitchen after I'm finished eating. I'd grab one mango slice, those dried mangoes, and then I'd grab 2, 3, and I'm like, whoa, what did I just do? And I thought to myself directly, this is it. Like, if it's not one thing, the devil will introduce another vice because you are easily manipulated. Yeah. It's just you don't know what the addiction is until it comes up into your life. And so once you realize that, then everything becomes a vice. So someone's is alcohol, mine's porn, could be drugs. The solution's the same. The vice is different.
Yep.
You have to destroy the old version of you every single day, that end of the version of you that you want to become, and move forward on that man or woman every single day. And that is your focus, becoming the best version of you, destroying the old you every day.
Well, that's perfect way to wrap this up. Because that is a key. I've done it both ways, up and down many times, and that is the key, man. David, you have an incredible story. You're inspiring as hell, man. And where can people follow you and connect with you?
So my handle everywhere is at David FishChuk. It's DAVID FISHCHUK. Primarily on Instagram is where I'm most active because it's easier to post things on the go. I tend to port that same information over to YouTube and my Facebook. I think it's facebook.com and then it's david.fishchuk, but everything I try and keep just the same. The only other David FishChuk that is out there is my younger cousin, and we're a stark difference between me and the little kid. So pretty easy, but on there, my coaching program is a mindset, fitness, and nutrition, because I mentioned earlier, my biggest gateway in the beginning to getting mentally tough was fitness. And then I have helped people not only get fit, but get rid of their addictions, their vices, and hit their goals in life. Because like I said, it's not always a financial goal people want. They want to be better fathers. They want to be present. But if they're always falling to their vices, their kid looks at them and his dad's on his diet again. Oh, there he goes again, eating that piece of cake, and he's failing again and again and again. Well, how's about we raise up a generation of people and take the men that are currently here and make them tough and go, you are a role model. You have a duty to your family to become the best version of you. And that's what I help people do. Wherever they're at in life, we all can become the elite versions of ourselves and our family unit and help others around us.
I couldn't have said it better, and that is so important in this day and age. That's what we've got to do, because we've been asleep at the wheel. It's time to reclaim our lives and to take back our lives and our country, to be honest with you. So we've got
our duty
up, and it's time. So thanks, man, and look forward to staying in touch. I'll have all David's contact information, folks, down in the show notes. So if you don't remember it, I haven't written it down, don't worry about it. It'll be down there for you. And I look forward to staying in touch and appreciate your time. Thanks for being here today, David.
Thank you, Steve. Greatly appreciate you and your audience. Thank you.
Course creators, say goodbye to intimidating software and eliminate multiple subscriptions and say hello to Backbone. Backbone helps course creators thrive with their all-in-one, easy-to-use sales and marketing platform. Backbone gives you all your automation in one place to capture, nurture, and turn more leads into customers. With Backbone, you get unlimited courses, membership sites, funnels, landing pages, surveys, and forms with our easy-to-use drag-and-drop features. That's not all. Backbone provides a full CRM and pipeline management, two-way SMS, workflow automations, call tracking, full analytics, built-in AI, 24/7 support, and so much more. Stop paying for multiple tools and put more money in your pocket with Backbone. Just go to backbonelms.io now to get your free 14-day trial. Backbone supports letthemlive.org to help defend the defenseless by donating 5% of each subscription every month. Jump over to backbonelms.io now to start your free trial today.